great. Hello?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second, all those approve, that you sign?
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
same sign, sorry. Going through the financial report.
Yeah, again, if you had time to review it, if you're good with it, we can make a vote to pass it. If you want to see it, we'll pull it up, talk about it, if you had questions on it. If not,
I'm good with it, I looked through it.
I'll just move that it's part of the approved agenda already. That was one.
no, just, if you're good with it, just motion to approve this
Motion to approve
financial.
the finance report.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay, a motion and a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign.
The same thing with the bills.
And bill approval, the same thing. Have we looked it over? Any questions on it, or?
Oh, no, I don't have any questions.
Okay,
You know, the only comment I had, it looks like you cleaned up a bunch of stuff that probably needed to be updated.
on the bills?
On the bills?
No.
Yeah, just on the bills, Jim.
Okay, no.
Yeah, did you get a chance to see the bills and everything? We just need, if you guys are good, we just need a motion to approve it.
Oh,
I'll make a motion to approve.
second.
We have a motion and a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Next item would be public comment for items not on the agenda, so if you'd like to have your,
I do
Couple,
have some
3
public
minutes?
comments.
okay.
On items not on the agenda? Yes, on items not on the agenda. Go ahead.
Yep.
Okay.
I do realize, oh,
Go ahead.
sorry. Do you want me to stand up?
No.
Just-
Okay, Cape Droll, 501 Archery Road. I do realize that I'm late to the party and I'm a newcomer. I get that the board has been discussing and planning this since 2021, the new wastewater facility treatment, and that I might not know. I'm not a ratepayer. I don't receive mailers. I have come to realize, however, that this does affect me, and not just me, but all of Lakeside, the upper west side of Flathead Lake, and frankly, anybody who cares about protecting the lake's water quality and the future of this water and sewer district. At last month's meeting, we all heard the presentation about from the engineers about different wastewater treatment options. The board selected an SBR, or sequencing batch reactor. It's true that Whitefish also uses an SBR. However, it's not a conventional SBR. It's an aqua Narita aerobic granular system. It uses a particular type of sludge. It's has higher efficiency, a smaller footprint, lower energy consumption, reduced chemical use, and produces a higher effluent quality. It's also fully automated that reduces staffing issues. But there's also other important differences that I don't want to be overlooked, and that's that first, the permit. Lakeside has a groundwater discharge permit. Whitefish has a surface water discharge permit. The other facilities that the board has mentioned that are in close proximity to Flathead Lake utilize a surface water discharge permit. Yes, they're directly discharging into the water source, but they're also producing a higher quality of water that's leaving the facility. There's less of the icky stuff, fewer contaminants. Given Lakeside's proximity to Ashley Creek and Wiley Slough and Flathead Lake, I believe that the district should hold itself to a higher standard. I get that you have the groundwater discharge permit, but I would respectfully request that you do more. So that the water, or the quality of the wastewater that's leaving the facility and ultimately what's entering those water sources in Flathead Lake is better than it's mandated, okay? Because if we get this wrong, the damage will be irreversible. Second, there's also treatment options that the other wastewater facilities use that aren't currently a part of the plan for Lakeside. I believe that you guys did mention the possibility of using UV treatment. I strongly encourage you to look into that. It is used in Whitefish. It reduces the contaminants, the bacteria, the E. coli, the phosphorus, the nitrates, all of that. Other possibilities include like cloth media and other membrane filtration and targeted chemical removal. I strongly urge the board to consider exploring and investing in these upgrades to significantly improve the quality of the effluent that's leaving the Lakeside facility to better safeguard Flathead Lake. The other issue I'd like to address today is the rates and the rate increases. I know there was a lot of public concern and voiced in recent meetings, and I think most of us do understand that rates will increase, rates will go up. That is inevitable. However, the problem isn't simply that the rates went up, it was the magnitude of the recent increases combined with the uncertainty of when and how much they might go up again. This unpredictability is what's hurting the members of our community the most. With that in mind, I respectfully request that the board consider a few measures to make this easier on ratepayers. One, predictability. Can you limit the number of rate increases per year and communicate that clearly in advance? Two, reasonable limits. Can you cap the size of any single rate increase going forward? If a district-wide cap is not feasible, then can we do a grandfather clause? Like for all existing ratepayers as
Can you
of,
please wrap it up?
I am wrapping up, like 30 seconds. New ratepayers could just limit the increases no more than 5% of the time and no more than twice a year. The other is I urge the board to protect ratepayers over the age of 65 by freezing their rates, with adjustments only when the property is sold or when they pass. If a full freeze is financially unstable, then I request that you consider an adjusted rate program for our low income over 65 individuals.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who would like to be next?
Yes, Mary Flowers, Citizens for a Better Flathead. We have requested, and I guess I want to make sure that Jim and Roxanne in particular recognize that we have submitted a number of FOIAs to the district to try to get information so that we can understand what is being going forward. We recently got a response from Rodney in response to 8 of our FOIAs that we requested. And while we got some of the information that we were looking for on bonding, we have still not gotten what is called the Uniform Application Budget for Phase 1 and 2. You sent us again the 2023 version of that, but you've already in one of our earlier FOIA requests, you sent us just the budget of the June 17th, 2025. The 2023 packet is 18 pages long. It gives a lot of financial information and is important for the public to understand what you're doing. We want the updated one that goes with the budget that you gave us for $58 million. Something, I think I'm getting that amount right. We want to see that full financial packet, and yet again I'm told it's not available, and we're sent again the 2023. I don't know why that is. I don't understand why it is so difficult to get information. The public should be able to walk into your office and get information without having to kind of in the blind try to file a FOIA and be able to have Rodney dismiss it because of some wording that he finds is a loophole that he doesn't have to respond. And all due respect, Rodney, I think this memo you did was helpful to summarize, but the frustration on not getting these documents in a timely manner is really frustrating. So I want this to be part of the hearing record. I'm going to turn Rodney's response in, and I hope, Rebecca, that you will get it to Roxanne and Todd and Kathy and Jim so that they can see what we're requesting and what's not being provided. The public is not coming to your meetings just because we have some unfounded dislike for what you're doing. We want transparency, and transparency is really critical for the public to be able to make informed comments. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I didn't put our...
Jennifer Tipton, 123 Crabtree Lane. I brought in the 3 reports that were submitted to DEQ as part of the public comment by citizens for a better Flathead and North Shore, and if that could be made part of the record. I will email copies to Rebecca to be able to forward to the board. I want to be sure that everyone has a chance to look it over. I would highly encourage. We have a video of the presentation that Rodney was there at the beginning, but Rick did a really nice presentation that I think kind of lays out in layman terms where our concerns are coming from, where his concerns. So I wanted to give that. I also had some questions on, in looking over again the fate and transport analysis that was submitted by WET. I guess I'm really concerned with the monitoring wells, 1 and 2. One is on the northeast corner of the property, one is on the northwest. One was the slowest, it averaged 7 feet per day movement. The other corner was the fastest at 300, it averaged 392 feet per day. So that fastest moving one is right next to the Learns private well, which is right on the 500-foot buffer zone. So I don't know that you can exactly say, I think that measurement should be really spot on to say that there are no private wells within 500 feet, because that one is real close to being inside that 500 foot, and it's also right where the fastest moving water in your monitoring well, which suggests a preferential pathway that water could move faster. I'm very concerned for their drinking water. I also wonder why there was no consideration given to the irrigation ditch there as far as how far, how long it would take for contaminants to move to that body of water. It's the level that the groundwater that you're going to be discharged into. Water knows no boundaries, so it doesn't say, oh, this is the 500, it's also right on that 500-foot line. Water doesn't know that it's not supposed, so I'm curious why that wasn't considered in that report. Also, I guess I just want to go back to my question, which I didn't get any sort of feedback or answer on, with the aging infrastructure, and if
You wrap it up then, so
no problem. If any one of these 4 ponds are going to be still used for winter storage, I'm just, I guess, wondering if they are going to be, if the ground is going to be improved, if the liners are going to be replaced. I have a lot of concerns that it's over double the age of what it, liners probably should have been replaced 20 years ago, and that wasn't done. The sludge has never been removed. So I would hope that if you plan on continuing to use any of those ponds, that will be done, especially the ground improvements because of, earthquake problems and the sandy soil and all that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. Moving down to old business, looks like we don't have any. Moving down to new business, resolution 25-7 regarding the consent agenda. Rodney, you want to explain that a little more, or
Yeah, Rebecca's gonna
Rebecca?
take you through that one.
Yeah, so I'll be presenting resolutions 25 through 9, and these came to us on the advice of our legal counsel as best practices. We haven't had anything formal in place before, but with everything going on, it's a good time to make sure that the basic housekeeping items are covered. It's really just about protecting the district and keeping things clear and concise and consistent moving forward. Robbie, pull this up for me. So Resolution 25-7 is a resolution to authorize the use of a consent agenda. Basically, a consent agenda is a section of the meeting where routine, non-controversial items can be approved in a single motion without discussion. Unless a member requests to remove an item for individual consideration. Examples of typical items in a consent agenda would be previous month's meetings, financials, etc. The reason for adopting this is to increase efficiency, improve focus on strategic issues, so it will free up time for more thoughtful discussion on complex matters like infrastructure planning, rate change, and community concerns. It keeps us transparent and accountable in that the board can still see what's going on prior to the meeting and request additional information if needed. And like I said before, if anybody has something that they have a concern about, we can always pull it out and discuss that item individually. So how it would work is prior to the meeting, I would prepare and distribute the consent agenda similarly to what we do now. And then at the meeting, Mark will ask if any member wants to remove an item for a separate discussion. And then we would go from there. Then the remaining items would be approved and adopted with one vote. Did anybody have any questions about anything? You want to scroll down a little? Was that? Oh, you can't.
Somebody scrolled down.
This is pretty standard compared to what the city, Kalispell does in the county. Right?
Yeah.
And we have-
That just packages it, some of the items.
Yeah, a lot of the districts are moving to that also, just to, like she said, to free up time for, more, other things on the
Have
agenda.
the option to pull it out.
Right.
Any board member can pull it out,
Correct.
full discussion.
But it does require, it does require the board to take some responsibility ahead of the board meeting
Yeah, well,
and look at that, so I guess that's one thing to push on the board members, is that it does require you to look at it and review
Look at
it.
it before the meeting.
Yes.
We had all the information.
Yep,
Which is similar to what you guys are doing now. You
Yeah,
guys
it'll
did
be
before and reviewing
real
the
similar.
information now. So it'll just save, like, earlier, the minutes, financial, and bill approval was required 3 different motions and approval. So then it would be, and the agenda would be just one.
Well, we always have the opportunity to
yeah,
circle and mark things that we read in advance, so
yep,
that's, we already
You
do
can always
that.
pull it out then.
This just says you speed it up at this meeting,
yeah,
because we've already looked at everything and
right.
don't have any questions.
Right. So in the consent agenda, if you've already looked at it ahead of time and you realize there was something in there you wanted to talk about at the board meeting on a financial document or something, then when you got to the board meeting, when we got to the consent agenda, you'd say, well, you would like.
I actually wondered, when I knew the city and the county did that, I wondered if that was a little too much, but if we read the material we get in advance, it's all covered.
Right,
We had the chance to single out something we want further discussion on.
right,
And we get it anyway now, as you went through it line by line. I usually have a question on something.
mhm,
So it just formalizes that that's what we must do. We must read all the document, read the paper.
yep. Which is good to
Yeah, I think
do
it's
that.
good to have it
Yeah, so when you come, you're prepared, it's helpful for me.
Especially for new board members, realize that
Yeah,
if you're gonna just have a consent agenda, you better have read all the information so we know what's in it.
right.
Okay, is there any public comments in regards to this item on the agenda?
Yes, again, Mary Flowers, Citizens for Bear Flathead. I think you're right that this is a fairly standard thing that local governments use on their agendas. On your policy as written, I do have concerns that while routine financial matters, prior meeting minutes may not be an issue, it's pretty broad to say previously reviewed or discussed policies, contracts and agreements with no outstanding questions. The board might not have questions, but the public may have questions. And an example of that would be the Territory 1889, you know, where if that was put on a consent agenda, you guys might have a view of it that the public has not had, and that's problematic. So I would, and then you also have under here board members' right that any board member can ask removal. I think that you should include in this policy the option for the public to request prior to the meeting, and I think that would be reasonable. If your agenda goes out, that if we have a concern as a member of the public, that we can request an agenda item be removed. So I would consider amending this to remove contracts and agreement with no outstanding questions, particularly if they haven't been seen by the public. I don't know how you can exactly clarify that. Maybe you need to go back to your attorney and ask how to clarify that wording. But it seems like a huge loophole that would exclude the public from understanding, and if there are items on your consent agenda, I'm assuming you will be following the policy that you've been doing recently, where you're posting those items so the public can read them ahead of time.
Yeah, they'll still be included in the board packet.
So, yeah, I would ask that you provide a provision for the public to ask an item be removed from the consent agenda, as well as, I think just contracts and agreements is really way too broad. Previously discussed policies, I don't know what that would be, but if there's a way for the public to request a removal, then that could be addressed.
Okay. Any other comments? Or?
Jennifer Tipton, I second Mary's comments on that. As I'm, listening to Rebecca say it and understanding other local governments do something similar, but like Mary said, with the bills and all that, that seems pretty would be fine. But anything more than that, I mean, it seems like moving towards less transparency, and I would hope that we're moving towards more transparency, not less. So I have concerns with that as well.
Well, it seems like if they have a chance to comment, we should see, and we should discuss their comments. Right now, if they give us something to read, we read it, and then we made it part of the consent agenda. And if there's comments that need further discussion, then we should have a way to get it back on the agenda for further discussion. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the public should be able to request that an item be.
So are you done with your public comment?
Okay, we're closing the public comment then.
Well, I had a,
Oh, you have
I had a
something?
Kate Droll. My issue is that previously discussed items approved for consent is simply too broad. I think that with the absence of certain board members month to month, they might not have been here to give consent on the prior month, and then now they've lost the opportunity. They wouldn't even notice that it's possibly in the agenda. They might pull it up ahead of time, they might not, but it doesn't afford ample opportunity to have those discussions. If it's already on the consent agenda and the public can't pull it off, then how is the public going to comment? Unless we are just going to public comment during the items not on the agenda, but it would be on the agenda, but not on the agenda. And how is that going to work?
Thank you.
Thank you. You want any comments first?
Well, yeah, I'd like to make a comment. For one, this policy is a fairly standard policy. And for the public to be able to take things off of that consent agenda is generally never in any other of these policies. If we're not creating contracts in that, in what it says. We're not, this is simply, if the simple things that may be in a contract, this isn't creating a contract, voting on a contract that has never been, things like that. But to, quite frankly, I don't care one way or the other whether it's on there or not, but that's a pretty standard language that we did not add that language. We took this from another policy. So as far as the public being able to take things off the consent agenda, if the public wants to comment on things that are not on the agenda, they can make a comment then on anything else that's there. But that's specifically for our board, that consent agenda. So that's for you, that's for financials, and whether they like that or not, that's my opinion, is for you to have a discussion now. You've heard them, and that's my 2 cents. We did not create this and put those words in there ourselves. This came
Well,
from
that's what I
other
was asking,
places.
you know, it seems consistent with what I've seen the county and the city do. And you agreed that our attorney had looked it over, but I guess it still seems like if there is comment, and Rebecca does a good job of writing up what the comments are, and we get to read that before the next meeting. But then,
Yeah, I don't see any issues
seems
either.
like transparency would see what our
Yeah.
comments are based on what they submitted for.
Well, this is an item on the agenda that helps us, and just to speed through some of the items that are usual, typical, whatever you wanna call it. They're not there for the major agreements, the major items that are coming up. This will be separate, held as new items.
And anything on there will be posted live on the website. So it's not hidden, it's still there. Everybody can see it, whatever it is. They'll be able to see the financials, they'll be able to see anything that's in the consent agenda ahead of time, before the meeting, during the meeting.
So the public can see that,
Yeah,
but so does the public get to see what their comments were submitted?
I don't know what comments you're talking about, Jim.
Well,
That's before the comments will be made.
He's
Well,
right.
you guys,
I'm misunderstanding, I guess, I don't know what.
I guess they're looking for transparency, and I guess if they give comments, we should have action on those comments
So
at some
Jim,
point.
if they were to read the posted agenda and submit written comment prior to the meeting about that, yes, you guys always see any written comments submitted, you guys see prior to the meeting.
But that don't really have anything to do with the consent agenda, though. What has it got to do with the consent agenda? That we're looking at right now of resolution 25-7, a consent agenda, and having a consent agenda. What does public comment have to, as far as posting a public comment, have to do with that? I'm not sure I'm following you.
Well, I'm not rewriting anything, but I guess their point, they're asking for more transparency, and I don't think we ever wanted to be against transparency, but you're saying, well, the transparency is there because the comments are in what Rebecca writes up is for everybody to read.
But they're not asking for transparency of the comments. They're asking for transparency of the documents that are in the consent agenda,
All right.
which is what we're gonna have them transparently on the website before the board meeting. They're transparent. The public comment is, it doesn't pertain to the consent agenda.
So the item gets on the agenda, but if there was previous comments and we don't discuss what our conclusion was, it seems like something's missing.
But right now is your time to discuss anything that's on your mind about the consent agenda. They just made comments, and so if you have anything to discuss about their comments, then you should bring it up and discuss it. Is that what you mean?
I guess that's really what I'm saying, is that if they brought something up significant they have to have, then where do they see the transparency of what we decided? Unless we have an action item at the next board meeting.
So if something was brought up during the public comment period about something in the agenda and you wanted to discuss it, you could pull it from the consent
Yeah.
agenda.
Is that what you mean
Is
about
that-
the consent agenda?
Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think you're making a general statement, so do you approve the consent agenda, because that approves all the daily bills? And I thought some of that stuff is so routine that it just takes up a
Correct.
lot of time, and these meetings, when you start going down every little nickel and dime that's spent for the month,
Exactly, that's what it's
That's the
about.
intent.
that's generally not what the kinds of comments we get back.
Correct.
What's going on now, we're getting some significant comments, and so,
But these comments are regarding
We're
let's
specific,
just listen to it regarding consent agenda.
okay, so you're saying if one of the board members wants more discussion from a previous comment from the audience, we should, that's when we should bring it up.
you should bring it up right
So
now
you're
and
just
talk
saying
it
the
through.
consent agenda says, okay, we're not gonna talk anymore about these items unless somebody wants to.
Yeah, or unless the board member wants to pull it out and discuss it further.
Yeah, I don't know, so I understand everything you're saying, I know what they're looking for. I think we operate without transparency, and I don't think we do.
No.
We've always been open to input. But I guess I'm thinking maybe their perspective is that they're not getting answers on some of the things they bring up. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not true,
But that,
in our opinion.
yeah, in my opinion, that's not true. So, what do we do with that?
Yeah, I guess that's.
I deal with it every day, so, if it's something at the board meeting that
I
you,
see we got some other stuff about communications coming up. You know, everybody could probably communicate better about certain things, but I've always felt we were open to input, and we make decisions based on what the public brings up. I just don't know if they're satisfied that we're doing that. I think we do it. I think we make our decision, move ahead. And this consent agenda, as you described it, is just, do you agree with the agenda? If we say yes, but is that satisfying what they're asking? I don't know.
Well, this is just regarding the consent agenda. We're not discussing individual items. This is just something, can we even proceed with a consent
Yeah, well,
agenda in
I
the
think
future?
If we say, okay, we're not gonna go over every little nickel and dime in the budget every meeting, because we look at it before we come to the meeting,
Correct.
and that same thing will be on the website, right?
exact same thing.
So if somebody wants to bring something, that's usually not the kind of question we're getting.
No, correct. Because it's usually just the board that looks at those items.
Yeah, well, I guess it'd be up to a board member to bring something like that for further discussion.
That's the goal, right? The goal is that you will look at it ahead of time, and if you have something that you come into the meeting and you say, well, no, I don't want to pass the consent agenda, I'd like to take a look at the financials, I got a question, and we pull it out. You just say, I'd like to pull that out. And we pull it out, and we have our discussion, we talk about it, and then we close it. And then we pass the consent agenda when we get through that stuff.
Well, you know, this board is all elected by the public, you know, so we represent the public. And I think we do our best to answer their questions. If they feel like they're not getting the answers, I don't know where you would, it would be up to a board member to say, we want to talk about this some more.
Do you want to talk about that right now? About answers? Because I'll talk to you about that. I'll talk to all the board about what Mary brought up in the beginning about a uniform application budget, right? For example, she's given you that document and showed what she asked for and the things that we had to interpret to try to figure out what to get her for their information requests that they had. And that's primarily what she's talking about, right? So when they ask, we're supposed to basically, in essence, educate them, apparently, on when they submit an application, and we're supposed to somehow interpret what they're looking for, right? So when they say they're looking for the budget for the uniform application, there's only one uniform application that is ever created. There's one. After that, all you do is update the budget along the way. They have the uniform application, but they continue to say over and over, there's gotta be another one, there's gotta be another one. We've given them all the budgets. We've told them that in a previous information request, but they still seem to think that there's another one out there. Just like the capital improvement plan, right? They don't like the answer to it, so they'll continue to ask for it. They ask for other things. This is a discussion we're having.
Please, Jennifer.
So they continue to ask for things that either we do not have, but they wished we had. And so they'll continue to ask for them, and they'll continue to put propaganda out that we're not giving them the information. If I added the hours of time that we put in to answer their information requests,
And
you'd
lawyer
be shocked. Lawyer costs and so on that we do to answer their information requests. So they are getting the information. They just don't like the information they're getting. So I can't help that. So you're going to continue to hear, Jim, that we don't give them enough information. We don't answer their
As
questions.
an example, I guess.
What?
You've given it the only answer you have, is what you're telling me.
With the attorneys involved.
With attorneys
There's a
involved
lawsuit
now,
going on.
because there's a lawsuit going on. So the attorneys are even looking over my response before it gets sent to them. So
Everything goes
Well,
through
that's
there.
what I started to say a minute ago. You know, the people on this board are elected by the public,
Correct.
and we had some pretty high percentage votes this last round of elections, as I recall. Even going back farther, when we consolidated the water district with the sewer district, that was in the high 70s in favor of combining the water district with the sewer district. And this district got started back in 1987. It was a sewer district only. There was a separate water district. And the public was so upset with the water district in 1996 because the water system, all the wells failed. And so the public petitioned a merger of the two districts, and both district boards had to vote on that. They went through the same thing with Summers.
We can really not miss it though. Right now, we're only talking about resolution 25-7.
So if you're just saying, okay, the finance, the minutes, the report, and the bill approval as part of a
Consent agenda.
consent agenda, yeah, I agree with the way you described it, but I guess, and if they don't like your answer, but if that's the only answer we got, that's the answer.
it's the answer. But they're going to still say that we don't have transparency and that we don't put things out there enough for them, even though we continue to even make things better. So it's when they're asking for things that we don't have, you can't give them the correct answer.
Well, I guess that could just continue to feel.
But
that way.
again, that's got nothing to do with the consent agenda.
Yeah, all right.
Either we're going to use the consent agenda or we're not. So if we want to talk more about that.
I'm in favor of spending less detail at these meetings so we can move on with the business. That's what the other organizations do. Like I say, I used to kind of wonder why they did that. It seems like there could be something in there that should require more discussion, but if a customer brings up a question and there is no other answer, then I guess that ends that one.
We're not trying to hide any details. I hope we understand that.
We have the same goals as they do. We want to protect Flathead Lake,
Yeah, there's,
and the cost is always a consideration, part of it. But they don't like your answers, but there is no other answer. That's the way that.
well, what does the board like to do with this item? Do we want to, is there a motion? Do you guys feel like strongly about it? Do you want to talk about it next time again? It's been the second time on the agenda now. Last time we didn't get to it because the other meeting went too long and we had a board member that had to leave.
I could move that we accept the policy, but it seems like if they're gonna keep coming up with wanting more information that's not available yet, there isn't a
It
second.
has nothing to do with this item, those items.
Well, I move we adopt the agenda policy adoption.
Okay, we have a
That's right.
motion. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Now we're moving down to the consent agenda policy adoption ordinance, which is 25-8. Rebecca, would you like to discuss that?
Actually, it's consent agenda policy adoption, so you
So
guys
go
You
on
guys
line
just
too far.
adopted.
passed the 25-7 consent agenda,
Okay.
and now there's the policy that goes with it.
Okay, sorry.
And so,
You guys all read the accompanying
which
policy.
she already had that up, so it's just the consent agenda is one thing, right? And then you got the policy that goes with it, so that will become policy.
That will go part of our
It's just-
package, yeah.
Paperwork, it's
Yeah.
part of the package.
Do you have any questions on that? You guys need to see it again, or do you,
No, we can vote on it.
okay? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, a motion.
Which one are you making a motion
That
on?
would be regarding consent agenda policy adoption.
Jim, it's on your screen, if you wanna see it again.
Okay, yeah, put it up there. Well, I agree with everything's written there. So if we follow that, we'll still get input, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And we can always ask for more. If we read all the documentation we've got, any board member should be able to ask for more discussion, so.
This is just a policy that goes along with the consent agenda that we put on our books, you know. So when new board members come and they read our policies, they can understand.
Well, I think this board has to have more authority than a person that wants more information. So this is a policy that says any board member can pull out any item for further discussion.
Correct.
So if we're aware of and wanting more transparency, I guess the board member can do that.
Yep.
But I think if you start writing in this policy document that said anybody that attends a meeting can do it, I think you're just asking for trouble. You'll never get a meeting over.
I agree.
Correct. So we have a motion on the table.
Do you want to second it?
I'll second it if you need a
Okay.
second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Moving down to ordinance 25-8, annexation of 501 North Juniper Bay Road, Summers. Is that Rodney? You're gonna go through
Okay.
that?
No.
Actually, Rebecca is.
Rebecca is.
Whoops.
You said it's on edge, Robbie, right?
I'll show you where it is first off. So it's right here along the lake.
Is that the Juniper Bay one?
Yep, there's Spring Creek Road, here's the fish hatchery. And what this is that this was a little cabin right here on this lot, right here. And their septic failed. Took them a while, their septic has failed, has been failing for quite a long time.
Well, there's an example of what we've been doing for the last 20 or more years, 30 years.
The issue with this lot though is he had to get an easement to get up to our sewer across other properties,
So
so.
that's a future one, right?
What's that?
That's the one, or is that a future one?
This is the lot right here.
He needs an easement also?
No,
He already has
he
it.
already got it, no, but,
Okay.
but it took him a year to get the easement from these other people to be able to get his sewer up to our sewer main. So it's a single home, residential home.
And every time
And I'll-
As an example, every time we do this, that's one more ratepayer that takes pressure off more rates. Every time you add another septic tank removal along the lake shore, you have one more person paying for the monthly bill. So that's how we've managed the last probably 35 years. I've been here 35 years now.
Is he on a grinder pump then, grinder system?
Yeah, he'll be on a grinder pump that pumps up to our sewer.
Okay. Does that even allow the neighbor that is not annexed it or annexed it except him on that?
Yeah, this neighbor is annexed, so he's going down the lot line here. So this property right here is already annexed.
Okay.
You know,
I just see the lot just to the
These
south.
two are not. I'll show you what's going on there if you guys want to see it. So here, these are our annex lots. These are unannexed, anything dark.
Okay,
So he has a contiguous boundary to follow right here to
Okay.
get up to the sewer, so. So he worked with these people, got an easement to come down here and get up, and come up through here, so.
perfect. So those other two would potentially have a right to hook up to that way, or? do they
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
find their own?
if they need it.
I guess the one guy has access already,
Yeah,
on the, yeah.
yeah.
you know, there's two policies I think we share with this group here, is that we want to protect flathead lake. That's why the sewer system is there in the first place. That's why the EPA paid for so much of it back in the 1980s. And so any new hookup there pays a bigger permit fee, whatever you want to call it. You know, we use a lot of similar names, or different names for similar functions. Plant investment fees, latecomers fees, hookup fees, permit fees, whatever, they're all the same thing. And so that lot will pay probably close to $6,000 for a sewer hookup fee because they've not been part of the district all these years.
Correct, yep.
And if there was a vacant lot across the street that had never hooked up to sewer, there probably is one over there somewhere, there's about a $2,000. So that's where, when we say growth pays for growth, people have asked me personally, what does that mean? I say, how come as an existing user, I have to pay more to expand the treatment site? Because you have to spend more just to keep what you got. Wastewater expansion is terribly expensive for everybody, and it's going on all over this state, and especially western Montana, Flathead Valley. And it's never gonna get less, it's gonna get more expensive. Because there's new things coming down the pipe for all the forever chemicals and everything else that's coming up. So wastewater disposal is a huge expense, and it's going on all over the United States. And I had a personal interest in what Evergreen just did. I've had a rental out in Evergreen for years. For the last 10 or 12 years, I've spent about $60 a month for water and sewer. So my August bill had almost doubled. So some of the people that have been to these last two meetings we had at the QRU are complaining about the cost. Very few of them even live here, but the cost was held back for years because we've been adding all those hookups in between Mission View Terrace and Summers. Those were all on septic tanks in the past, and they were not part of the district, and so they pay more to get a permit. So that's one way we make growth pay for growth. Those newcomers or latecomers pay more than somebody that's been in this district since 1987 that had a vacant lot and never paid. Because we had revenue bonds. Revenue bonds means you have to have a bill to help pay for that law or our bonds. And so I don't think the general public understands that's how we managed for the last 30 years. That sewer system's 40 years old now. Somebody just said we should have replaced those ponds 20 years ago. I don't think that's true. The way you determine that is how much volume we got in those storage ponds and how deep is the.
The liners, I was just talking about the
But
liners.
they've tested for leaks. They know, they've done all that. That's the engineers or scientists do that. They did it. So we're pretty confident where we are. We might have less volume in those tanks which means you can't store as much water, and that's why we're getting away from storage in our present plan. So I think what you're looking for is a complete explanation of how this thing, but the future of wastewater is still gonna be an issue for all the Big Fork, Kalispell, Whitefish, and Columbia Falls also, and Lakeside. It isn't gonna go away, and it's never gonna get cheaper.
Okay.
So I think some of this transparency you're looking for, you want to second guess every decision we make, but these people are voted on, they were elected into these positions, and they have the same feelings. They want to protect Flathead Lake, and we want to do our best to make it affordable. But I'll tell you, wastewater is going to get really expensive in the future. I keep bringing up, and anybody that's been to these meetings have heard me say it, I think. There was when Flathead, or Kalispell was 100 years old, that would have been around 1991, 92, or 93. There's an article in the paper that said if the second 100 years of growth will occur, it was the same as the first 100 years, there'd be 300,000 people living in Flathead County north of Flathead Lake. I mean, that's going to be a tremendous wastewater change, and it isn't going to be less. It'll expand whatever's there at Kalispell, Whitefish, Columbia Falls, Big Fork, and Lakeside. It's not the last expansion that'll ever happen, because if you got 300,000 people, I don't know if there is, but in 1987, nobody forecasted the kind of growth we're looking at today. So they sized that treatment site to handle what seemed like a reasonable growth in 1987 for the next 20 years. And so that's how they sized that treatment site. But when I got involved here in this district, I got on this board in 1990 when I first moved back to Montana. I'd been gone for 25 years. And one of the first things that caught my attention was what the city of Kalispell was doing with a multi-million-dollar treatment site expansion. And they argued like crazy, and they used to publish their city council meetings on TV. And because I knew the mayor from high school, I knew who he was. Bruce probably knows who he was. All of a sudden I forgot his name.
Rothy?
Doug Rothy was the mayor, and he was the mayor, and he was conducting the meetings, and he says, my folks have owned that property since 1930s, and they raised a whole family, and they're producing less wastewater and using less water today than they did when their family was growing. So why should they have to pay for the expansion of the treatment site? Well, that kind of hit me right here. I said, I need to know that. I'd like to see how it comes out. Well, it's pretty obvious that the existing users have to pay for growth just to keep the system they've got, because the system changed because of population. All public utilities suck up millions of dollars of money when they have to expand because the population grows. That's what we're facing. So we still want to protect the lake, and we want to make it affordable as possible. But the reasoning, the existing users have to pay for growth on a system because they haven't been paying all these years. They came along later, they're latecomers. And our revenue bonds didn't collect money. If we would have had general obligation bonds, even vacant land would have paid for that sewer system. But the board at the time chose to go with revenue bonds, so the only people you could send a bill to were the ones that were actually getting service. You didn't tax the vacant land. Except that when Lakeside first got a sewer system, they didn't have enough customers to collect enough money either. So we got, when I came on the scene in 1990, we were 2.5 years behind on our loan payments to the state. And so then that's the only time the county commissioners will get involved with what these districts do. And they say, you've got to raise your rates to collect enough money for. And so then what they did is they put on a special assessment that lasted for 7 years to get caught up on all those delinquent loan payments. But there's 2 state laws that we're facing when you deal with this subject. One is if you need wastewater disposal, be it a septic tank or something else, so that if you've got a sewer main going by your property and you're within 200 feet, you have to hook up to the public sewer, not you can't get another septic tank, the county won't give you a septic permit because there's public sewer within 200 feet. There's one caveat that says if it costs 2.5 times as much to hook up the sewer, we might give you a septic permit. We haven't tested that only once that I'm aware of. We didn't fight it. I think it happened up right here, one of these houses up here. The public that wanted I wanted them to hook up the sewer, and they said, no, we can get a septic permit. And sure enough, he did. Because he said it costs, but septic tanks are expensive now too. They have to filter them and pump them, and it's not the same old septic tank with a drain field. It's more sophisticated and much more expensive, so there could be more people thinking it costs. So anyway, we tried to keep our hookup fees reasonable. That's what we've done, but we've added a lot of what I would used to call out-of-district property, like we're just looking up here on the screen. That person will pay a lot more for his permit than the guy across the street that had a vacant lot all these years and never paid a dime. So that catch-up loan that we got, that was like a general obligation bond, but the guy did get sewer service. When he started paying, but he had paid a higher permit fee, which gave him some catch-up. Then he kind of bought in. He bought into what the existing district customers already had. And then the other law we have that's code in Montana is that if you have a rate increase and we have a public hearing, you're going to get another state revolving fund loan. I believe all the state revolving fund money comes off the coal proceeds from coal mining. You can get like a 3% loan. But if you had to go to the bank, it would be more than double that. So there's two state laws. One, if you're within 200 feet, you got to hook up the public system. And two, if, what did I just say? If you're within 200 feet, you have to hook up the public system. And if you raise the rates, you have to have whatever their formula is for median household income. And so we try to work with both those rules. But we, like I said earlier, our goal is the same as your goal. We want to protect the lake and we want to make it as affordable as possible. So that's the planning we do, and we planned at every meeting I've ever been to about those things. And so we've got a plan that works, and you guys think you got a better plan. And so I think that's where we are. Some of this transparency, if you don't like our answers, but there's no different answer, I don't know what Rodney can give you that's you're asking for, unless you could help us write what you think should say on that thing we just adopted. But I think as far as I'm getting lost on this
Can we
policy adoptions that we're just doing.
Jim, we're just talking about the annexation, the adoption of the line, the annexation. I understand that there's a lot to discuss about, and you're totally right.
Goals. We just must disagree about how we go about business. But these people have those same goals. Well, we have laws to comply with, and we have common sense that we have to comply with too.
Well, can we get, so Rebecca has something more to say about ordinance 25-8. That's to annex that one property that we're talking about. So Rebecca, if you can take it from there.
You guys pretty much said everything that I had prepared. It's just that 501 North Juniper Bay Road in Summers, right here, their neighbor is annexed in, so it's a contiguous property line. It's a single family lakefront cabin with a leaking septic system. Because our sewer main runs directly behind their home, this is exactly the type of property that our system was designed to serve, removing failing septic systems near the lake and protecting water quality. You guys pretty much covered everything else that I had on there, just the basics. It's just a single family home. It's a nice fit into the district. It's literally what it was designed for. So if we could have public comment before we vote.
Correct.
Okay.
So is there any public comment in regards of ordinance 25-8? Only regarding the adoption, basically.
Yeah, and again, Mary Flowers, Citizens for Bear Planet. I just want to confirm that this is the type of activity that we believe the board should be doing, and that this is a reasonable, very important to be able to offer that service to a failing system. So I don't know if there's some misunderstanding of what we're asking for. This is the kind of thing that we support. And we do support a lot of things you do, but there are some things within this
Let's
expansion
stay
that we have questions on.
Please stay on the item on the agenda. Any other comments? Do we need to have a motion on adopting resolution 25-8?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that one.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
I'll just make,
Moving down to FY 26 draft budget. Is that Rodney?
Yes.
Hopefully y'all had a chance to take a look at the budget notes, and the budget. I don't know why it's taking so long. And so I'll go through, just, I guess, reiterate if you haven't seen it, or if there's anything you want to talk about. Yep. So the water revenue, we had the final rate increase of the 5-year rate increase that we had to get all of our water base rates to the same from all of our water systems. So South 80, Lakeside, Mission View, they're all at the same $38 base rate now. And then we're expecting a similar growth rate as far as hookups as the past fiscal year, which primarily because we still have the same subdivisions that are still filling out the Lakeside Estates spur wing loop and some of Lakeside Estates Phase 3. So as those fill out, which they are building on those, so we'll get some of those hookup fees there. Sewer revenue, we have increased revenue per the new base rates that were passed. Lakeside customers and the Summers interlocal agreement combined. Farm income is going to be slightly reduced to the less due to the land that we're building the Headworks location on. So that's going to eliminate that, like 11 acres right there for farming. It won't be too much, but it will reduce it somewhat. Staying conservative on our earned interest on investments, expecting the economy to change some, and those bond returns might get a little less as the interest rates come down, that kind of thing. Expect similar growth with the actual new hookups, meaning, again, these subdivisions that hook up are the occasional onesie-twosies, like we just annexed that property in. But also expect plant investment fees per the agreements that we have existing agreements on file. So those will come in as preliminary plats and final plats happen through the county. Water and sewer expenditures, items of note, the 2.5% COLA increase for employees that you already had approved earlier. New board approved hourly rate for the new systems operations wastewater plant manager position. That's an employee advanced position, which you already approved. New full-time water wastewater operator position starting January. So we'll start looking at advertising for that. Potential part-time 20 hours a week front office help starting in March. New water wastewater split. This is something maybe even some of you may not. I know Jim, you know it. Mark knows it. But the way we split general invoices, like things that aren't specific to sewer and aren't specific to water, but they're combined both. the amount of manpower that goes into it, like wages, like Rebecca's wages, my wages. We put any bills like that that are due to both water and sewer combined. We use a split when we split those invoices. And because wastewater is starting to outpace more with the new plant that we're planning and so on, and the new hires and so on, that split changed slightly from 60-40 to 65-35. So
Based on the number of customers of each service?
customers and expense and the amount of time that you put into that wastewater. So there's going to be full-time people at the wastewater plant. There a lot more energy going to be. So we still have our infrastructure out in the field, but we're obviously adding a whole lot more to wastewater that's going to be involved out there. So, so that split changed slightly there, 5%.
This is the budget. Anybody that's done budgeting, you know how that works. You look at the actuals and see what's different looking forward a year. Did a single cost that came up is not going to be around next year, so you don't use it in your current budget. But if you know you got another one coming up, like you just pointed out, by the electric 3.5%, so that got bigger by some number that.
Well, they sent a notice that they're increasing 3.5%. So that's figured into this budget. I will a little number 6 and 7. We used to have 4 families on health insurance. We now have 5. That our self-insured deductible, that increases that risk a bit. But then I was estimating a 5% increase in health insurance premiums. That generally we don't have any of those numbers by the time you're doing the budget, but we just got done with our health providers in their study that they did. If we were to stay with our current Pacific source, we would have an 11% increase, which was significant, but we had already started looking at this associated employees health insurance, which has become pretty popular in the valley. And so they quoted us this year on that, and it actually came in $10,000 cheaper in premiums than what our current rate is. So basically we're not going to have an increase. We'll have actually a decrease in health insurance, which is nice. So
Decrease in the premium.
in the premium by 10,000, and if you add the 11,000 that they would have charged, it's actually a $20,000 savings. So for the same coverage, so better coverage. Number 8, hard to guess where legal fees will land, but after researching other legal cases, etc., I did increase them substantially due to the lawsuit. Liability insurance renewed with an increase of 14.5%. This is a significant one. With the current market conditions and the pending lawsuit, this is considered favorable. No other insurance will write a policy right when you're in litigation, when litigation is pending. So we basically had to stay with the insurance that we're with for now, and so it's 14.5% increase over last year. But we will, there is good news on the horizon for next year if the cards all play out as far as insurance goes. Wastewater Phase 1 SRF first loan payments due in January 2026. That's on there. Another 2-year buy-in. So we're going to follow up our audit. Hopefully, is very close within the next 2 to 3 weeks. But we're going to go right into the 2025 biannual audit. So that's figured into this budget, another 2-year audit instead of 1. There'll also be a federal audit in that for Phase 1 wastewater project. So what triggers that is if you spend over $750,000 in federal grant money, it triggers a federal audit. So that's on top of our normal audit. ongoing water capital improvement project, tank well number 2 to be completed by September 25. That's actually, they're setting the well pump today. So once he'll finish that up tomorrow. Then we have Tanner finishing up putting in a sampling station and some electrical work, and we'll finish grading and get the fence put back, and it's very close to being finished. 3-year sampling cycle for all water systems. That's the VOCs, SOCs. So that increases those sampling for this year with those 3-year cycles included in there, and then added annual fees for wastewater, septic, and headwork building SCADA systems that get purchased now, even though they're not up and running yet. We have that so that they can build it into the buildings. Any questions on that?
I just have a comment, you know, your budgets are just the best guess you can make going forward on what's gonna happen. And you've covered all the things that would normally come to mind. And so, a lot of these things are dependent upon population. You know, when you get more houses hooked up, there's pressure off rates because you got more customers paying for the rates, but some of these things, like you said, the headworks and the new well, that's population growth drove those things. And you have to buy another well when you have to have another well. Water is cheaper than wastewater. Wastewater is the big one that's always difficult. You know, you get more people, you have more users to pay the same bill, but then new wells cost more electricity and all that. So population itself causes your budget to go up, but it has a reverse effect too when you have more customers to pay the rates. The pressure's off the revenue. It doesn't say the revenue goes down because you get more customers, you collect more revenue. But that's how it becomes affordable for everybody else. You get more customers, the rate is cushioned a little bit. That's how we've managed for the last 20, 30 years.
So this redundant well that we drilled and they're finishing up has all been paid for by the development Spurwing Loop, Spurwing Creek side, that were all planned. They all paid their remember we did an assessment on those lots because of the crash. The developer went bankrupt, and so we did an assessment on those lots.
I like having this discussion because for Bruce's benefit, because he was one that pointed out we ought to be looking at Tamarack Woods instead of going elsewhere for more customers. But the Tamarack Woods people in 1987 said they didn't want anything to do with this district. So they're all on septic tanks, and they will be until they want. And if they want to hook up the sewer someday, they'll be treated just like the Discovery Company. They'll pay the high fees. They'll have to pay for 100% of all the capacity they need. I don't think you realize that. But their hookup fees will be way more. In fact, all the people that hooked up in 1987, I don't think there was a hookup fee. Do you recall at all, Bruce? I wasn't here, I didn't live here till 1990, so that was a done deal when I got here. But I sure
Rodney,
learned
you wanna
about.
go through the budget further, or you have some more?
So anyway, I see the budget was planned as good as it can get. I did it for 20 years, I know what you have to go through.
Well, if nobody has any questions on the actual numbers, then you just go to the next public comment, and then we can have more discussion after public comment if needed.
I like having the discussion. I hate some of the stuff we're facing. Because there's an explanation for everything that's done.
Okay. Want to open it for a public comment on the budget?
Yes, again, Mary Flowers, Citizens for Bear Flathead. I have a couple of questions, or series of questions, I guess, but I'm assuming that, and I'm looking at the sewer budget, and I appreciate that you break out sewer and water, and then you give us a combined. That's a useful tool. So the 800,000 that is an increase, I'm assuming that is just the recent rate increase. That 200,000 is the total that will be generated by that rate increase that you just passed at your last meeting. I don't know if you can answer that, but that's my
I
question.
don't want to get into this discussion, but if you have comments, I can try to answer them later.
Okay,
If you
and
want to
then-
submit them or something.
And then again, under the SRF loan principle, the 25,000 annually that will be paid for that plus the interest. It's my understanding that's the bond that you passed in June.
Correct.
And that you have no other bonds other than that or loans. And so then my question is, in some of the information that Rodney provided us recently, it's my understanding that you don't have anything in here, income or expense, for this new expansion that you're doing. And that you're looking at putting that in a separate budget that is a enterprise fund. Where does that get approved and where does that become public information?
You'll see, as that comes along, you'll see it. You'll see it. It'll all become public. We'll have to go through all kinds of things on it.
But you don't have, was the phase one an enterprise fund as well?
It was just an SRF loan.
No, so you got the federal ARPA funds from
Oh.
the county. Is that an enterprise fund also for phase one?
I don't even know what you're asking, Mary. I don't even know.
Well, you said you're gonna create an enterprise fund. And you just said that it'll be available in the future.
What I said, enterprise fund. Anyway, I'm not gonna get into comments. Just make your comment and then whatever your comment is, it isn't question and answer time. So just make your comment, and if I can answer them at a later date, I'll answer them.
I didn't hear any enterprise fund discussion, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's just simply about the budget right now is what we're.
But to adopt a budget without having any financial information about a major $58 million expansion that you're doing.
This is an operational budget. This is all this is, an operational budget.
I'm making a comment that the public deserves to have a budget for the expansion, and we haven't seen that. We've seen pieces of things, and I'm asking when that will be available. And there was also reference in some of that material to the fact that there is a $7 million sewage, I don't know if it's some kind of account that you are setting aside so much for, but a $7 million fund where,
Has it got to do with the budget here?
well, I think it should be
Okay.
to do with the budget, and I'm not seeing it, so that's why.
Okay.
I'm asking, why is that not here? So I'd like the minutes to reflect the 4 questions that I asked. Why aren't we seeing a budget for the full expansion, which I believe is 58 million now? Why aren't we seeing, why aren't you disclosing how an enterprise fund will work?
Would you please wrap it up then?
And is the $8,000, is the $2,000 increase just from the rate that you just passed? And I think you answered that the 25,000 annual cost is your only bond at this point, but you're talking about doing some, for the phase 2, it's my understanding there's no revenue source for phase 2 unless you do a major loan, which would be, again, a cost to ratepayers.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other comments? Okay, closing the public comment.
For the record, just for the first question about the budget, for a budget for everything, they have the budget for everything. The $58 million budget that coincides, that was updated for the uniform application budget, it's all knowledge, it's all through the SRF program. DEQ has it, they have that budget. So, just for the record.
Is there any more discussion on the draft budget? Lead on,
No,
Butch.
I don't have any question. My comment is that he goes through the process I always went through for years, 20 years or more.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Second. I'll second.
Motion and second, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Resolution.
Okay, so this is a policy for temporary delegation of board president's authority in the event of an absence. Again, this is coming to us on advice from legal counsel as best practices, just in case something comes up.
So basically, we don't have anything in our current rules that
Correct.
defines that.
Yeah.
So we'll go to Roxanne if I was not
Yeah,
Which
well,
you did.
here.
What, can you give an example of what went on?
so, for example, Mark was not here for the first reading of the intent to raise the rates. And so the bond council had prepared the paperwork with the board president's signature, not board member's signature. And that was fine because it needed 2 votes. That was just the first one, but it had to wait for Mark's return to sign for that. And then we had to get approval, which was more legal fees to have the lawyers look at it. So, but it was at that time that they read through our policies and was like, that's actually not best practice because, you know, heaven to Betsy, anything comes up, and then we're, all right, so this resolution would formally adopt a policy allowing us to temporarily delegate the board president's authority when the president is unable to attend a meeting. The purpose is simple. It ensures continuity in our governance processes. If the president can't attend due to illness, travel, or any other reason, the board can designate another member to temporarily assume the president's responsibilities. This matters because of continuity, keeping meetings orderly and within protocol, decision-making consistency, ensures all meetings are chaired appropriately, and that the president's voting authority is not lost. And responsiveness, it empowers the board to proceed without delay, even if key officers are unexpectedly absent. So under this policy, at the meeting where the president is absent, the board would nominate and vote to select a presiding officer from the board members that are present. That presiding officer will assume all meeting-related responsibilities of the president, including presiding over the meeting and votes. The delegation would only last the duration of that specific meeting and would not carry over. The process would be documented in the minutes. This policy was recommended by our legal counsel, follows best practice. It ensures that we have a process that's both orderly and flexible. With that, I respectfully request that the board consider an adoption of Resolution 25-8, which formally enacts the policy.
Is there any public comment on that particular item?
I don't have comment on that one.
Okay, is there any discussion on the board?
Is this 25-8?
Yep, resolution. Yep,
Just common sense stuff to me.
okay.
We need to know who's running the show when the president's missing.
Correct.
Probably should have had status sometime too.
Do you want to make a motion?
I move that we adopt 25-8 for temporary delegation of board president's authority in the event of an absence.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion and a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
So again, this,
The next item is the temporary.
sorry, can I have the mouse?
Still have that. Oh, you done? Sorry.
Yes.
I was getting rid of it.
So, again, this has, you guys just passed it, and then you'll need to pass the policy adoption as well, please, with a motion and a vote.
Okay,
I'll make a motion.
okay, I'll second the temporary presidential temporary presidential delegation policy adoption.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you.
So, I'm sorry.
You can have it.
Thank you. The next resolution, 25-9, is a public comment policy adoption. This was also recommended by our legal counsel. This resolution would formally adopt a public comment policy. Why we would need this is to promote transparency and public engagement, establish clear expectations and procedures, ensure consistency across all meetings, and maintain respectful and orderly conduct. The public comment is allowed at regular board meetings, public hearings, each listed agenda item requiring board action. Public inputs welcome during designated comment periods, including before any official board action is taken on the agenda item. All attendees must sign in, speakers must state their full name and address. Chair determines the time limit. These simple rules help us maintain accurate records and give everyone a fair opportunity to speak. The type of content that's allowed is relevant to district business and the topic at hand, and in a respectful tone. What's not allowed is personal attacks, profanity or threats, or disruptive or repetitive comments. So we want to create a space where every speaker is heard respectfully and we avoid unnecessary conflict, distraction, or repetitiveness. The chair may end speaking time or remove individuals if needed. No dialogue or debate with the board during public comment. Comments are for the record, not discussion. So this ensures that meetings stay focused and productive. The board will listen but will not debate during comment periods. The policy becomes effective immediately upon adoption. It's available to the public at all meetings, and it helps staff and public understand expectations. Once the policy is adopted, it will be shared publicly and used as a standard for all meetings moving forward. So we request that the public comment policy is adopted. Did you guys all have a chance to read the resolution?
I did.
Okay.
We want to go to public comment first?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mary, or if anybody has any comments on it?
Go ahead.
I just have a comment about the request that speakers avoid repetition of comments previously made. I mean, if someone wants to reiterate that they agree with the person, or maybe they have, it's similar, but they have an additional comment or a thought from a different direction. You know, I thought it was kind of weird when you kept saying that at the last meeting, as if Mary or I or some of the people that do come to a lot of meetings and do speak. I mean, I do feel like I'm blue in the face sometimes from saying things, but also it's probably because people feel like they're not really being listened to. And, you know, it's not just that we're not getting the answers that we want, it's that we're not feeling like you're taking what we're saying seriously. You're just dismissing it as, you know, we're just here to be a thorn in your side, as if this is where we prefer to spend our every third Tuesday of the month, or I don't know. It's just frustrating, and I don't think that I understand like limiting time, not wanting disruptions, people being rude, but the repetitive comments, I mean, that's, I think if someone wants to come up and say the same thing, it shows you that, yeah, there's a lot of people thinking on a similar topic, or, you know, have a similar comment to make.
I think all we're saying on that though, Jennifer, is that it's like, we're not saying, because you can still come up and say, you know what, I agree with what that person says. We have no issue with that. But to go and say the exact same thing that person just said, that's all that means. It's just saying, if you got 10 people that want to come up and say the same thing, it's just come up and say, you know, I agree with what they said.
I
And if
guess,
you wanna add something to
Well, I
that, that
sure.
is perfectly fine.
Well, it just at the
That
last,
earlier. You did that earlier in a really good way. You said, I agree with what Mary just said, and also I'd like to add.
right,
blah, blah, blah."
sure.
The
So
whole
that's not
reason-
saying everything she
Yeah.
said again and using up your 2 minutes or whatever.
It's just so
Okay.
that there's time,
Sure.
so that, because when you got 50 people there, we just can't, we don't have all day.
I
So it's
understand
like,
that for
that's
sure.
all it's about.
I was just thinking about the last meeting, Mark was like, other people that haven't spoken, other people, I kind of felt like you didn't want us to get up and speak, and I get giving everyone a chance to speak, but, and not to say that our comments would be any more relevant or irrelevant than anyone else, but I don't know. I just felt like you were trying to discourage some of the people that are very involved and have spoken a lot. And
That's not my goal to discourage you. I saw 40, 50 other people that have never
Mhm.
said a word. And I'm not saying I know what you're gonna say, but I know your core issues, and so I was hopeful that some other people would take the chance and speak to us and give us their opinion. It just gives us more ideas or more things to think about, I guess.
okay,
I don't blow you away, I hope I don't.
okay,
That's not my goal, but that was my intent on it.
okay, gotcha, thank you.
I thought,
Any
what
other?
I was looking at on the screen, it's not what you were talking about, I don't think. Wasn't there a paragraph about
Well, I had my own speech.
public comments, there's no further discussion at that point? We want to hear you, but we don't go back and forth and spend more time on that. But I didn't see that paragraph when you were talking.
It's on
Is
the
that
second
something I
page.
said?
No, it's on the second page of the, just the request that speakers avoid repetition
No
of
response
comments.
or
Oh.
debate, where it says no response or
No.
debate, that's what you were talking about,
It's
right?
this one right here, Jim. Look at my thing. Here's what she's
On the
talking
screen.
about, right here.
Yeah,
Oh, I
okay.
thought it was.
But down below, it says,
But
board members will not engage in dialogue, debate, or answer questions during public comment. That's sort of I thought that's what you were trying to get at. No?
yeah. Any other?
Any other comments?
Yes, thank you. Mary Flowers, Citizens for a Better Flathead. This is identified as a public comment policy. I don't see it as a public participation policy that addresses the statutory requirements to meet your constitutional duty to inform the public so that they can make public comments. I think changes that you've made recently where you're posting things, documents on your agenda, those are supportive of public participation. And I think that needs to be incorporated into a policy to really have a comprehensive policy. And I think that it is incumbent on a board to provide opportunity for question and answer. Some boards do that through work sessions, regular work sessions. Some boards do that through a prior meeting to their board meeting. Whitefish does that a lot, where they have a meeting that precedes their council meeting. I think this is deficient in the sense that it doesn't provide opportunity for question and answer, and not just on a one-on-one basis, but I think when it's in a public forum, then we learn from each other. Somebody asks a question that I had never even thought about, and I learned from them. And it gets captured in a set of minutes, so the public then can go to the minutes and understand more. One of our frustrations was that items previously, like your budgets, weren't ever captured in your minutes. So we couldn't go back and find your 2024 budget or your 2023 budget because they weren't part of your minutes. A more comprehensive policy would note that public comment or public items discussed by the board become part of the public record so that the public has access to those. So while I think it is important that you have a policy, and I think it's good to remind people to be respectful, this doesn't meet the intent of the law to be a comprehensive policy that supports public participation.
Thank you.
And
Any
so,
other comments?
Bruce Young, 274 Stoner Creek Road. Obviously, there has to be a way to get through this for everybody, but I find it somewhat arbitrary when the head of the sewer board can decide how long people can speak. And let me give you an example of that. There's just 3 or 4 of us in the room today. This young lady sat here with some very good comments, in my opinion, and she had about another page to speak, but she got cut off. Now, to me, there should be some flexibility in the thinking that goes onto this sort of thing. There are some people that have things to say that are important, and they know what they're talking about. And you think they can address the magnitude of what all is happening here in 3 minutes? That's absolute foolishness, and it's unfair to the public when you have somebody that knows what they're talking about and goes on with it and is cut off because there's a 3-minute time limit.
Thank you.
And I really think there are some subjects, for instance, last meeting we came to, Rodney pontificated for an hour and a half, 2 hours about the sewer system and how great it was and how great he is and all these other things. And yet we weren't allowed to say a damn word after sitting through that diatribe of stuff. We had to sit here and do. And I don't think you're giving the public enough opportunity to ask questions, and you're cutting us off short, and I don't like it.
Thank you.
thank you.
So, just in regards to mine, we just decided to have to go to these minutes. By the way, the lady had about 7 minutes, if I looked right, so I didn't cut her off soon or early, probably not soon enough.
I wanted to hear what you had to say.
Correct. And it's my decision how long she can speak at this point. That's the way the rules are in the state of Montana. And if you guys don't like it, you need to go to the state, please.
We can
Thank
do
you.
And she did get to finish. All he did was alert her that, hey, your time's coming up. And she finished. She said, I have 30 more seconds, and we let her finish.
Is there any
So-
more questions on the public?
Well, here, I just to give my 2 cents on the public comment. All that stuff is that Mary brought up, that you brought up, is fine, right? I mean, if we want to have a question and answer time before a meeting or something like that, and do an actual session of question and answer, that's completely separate from what we're trying to accomplish here. We're just simply trying to accomplish a guideline for this part of public comment, right? So when we open it up to a public comment right here, that it's basically avoid repetition, right? And comment individuals who are unruly. It's just a guideline for public comment is all this is. If we want to start getting into doing other things, to open things and have sessions, to have a two-way conversation with the public, then that is a separate thing. And we can certainly do that as a board. If it's a particular item or it's something like that, and we want to do a break-off session and have a two-way conversation. If you remember early on, we had a lot of those two-way conversations with all the people that live out by you, and we sat here with lines of people and had two-way conversations with no time limits. So I'm all for having discussions, but it doesn't. We can't do that if we're on an agenda and we have all these different items that are on an agenda, and we have a public comment period for each agenda item. We have to just have a guideline for it so that we And these are basically general guidelines that everyone has. The planning department has them, the commissioners have them. So there's nothing out of the ordinary with this, this policy. That, you know, as far as following, there's nothing in state law that says that we have to have a two-way conversation with the public in our public comment policy. So it just, things just can go and go and go and go when you open that up. So if we want to plan an actual session and spend 4 hours having a conversation with the public, then we can certainly do that at some point.
We also have those
And
open houses.
Exactly, those open houses, different things. So, yeah, so there's other avenues to do those kind of things, and I'm all for them.
And this does say that you decide the time limit in the meeting. I think we've all seen that before when they say how many people want to speak.
Yeah.
We have 20 people and we have 15 minutes, so that's, you know, make
Yeah.
it quick, or 20 people and we have
Yeah.
20.
Yep.
Or 2 people and 20 minutes, then there's longer time. So it kind of depends.
Yeah, and I think that's what Mark did with that young lady that
Yeah,
was there.
we didn't need a time
We
limit
didn't,
today.
he didn't come out of the meeting and say you have, you know, you each have 3 minutes. He let her go, and I think it was getting close to 6-7 minutes. And, you know, it was just, okay, are you wrapping it up? She says, only got 30 more seconds, so we let her wrap it up. That's great. So, I think we are open to that, but when you have a room full of people, 50 people, you have to set time limits. And you can't have a two-way conversation with 50 people in the room and try to accomplish your agendas. So that's a separate meeting.
I think some of the discussion stuff might become separate meetings, but, because I think they want more transparency. We think we get it, what's necessary, but I think, I enjoy some of these discussions back and forth, because that's where it should, that's how you finally negotiate something to an end. You can't just have two different, you guys think you found a different way to expand our treatment site. We think we found the best way. We paid money to have that done. We paid engineers to help us design and help us understand what alternative they looked at. You come up with an example you seem to give us this, whatever the biological station does. But they're small potatoes compared to what our wastewater treatment needs. You know, they don't even take care of 30 houses there. They spent $2 million on that. So they got $2 million invested whatever they do at the biological station. And there's probably some things to be used there in the future for some small groups of buildings. But I think it's probably a good idea, you know. Astronauts can drink their own pee, you know, so you know darn well you can purify wastewater, but at what cost, you know? And so you got $2 million invested over there, and you only treat for a few houses. I don't know what it is. Not that many houses there at the station, so, for part-time residents.
What if-
So those are the kinds of things we need. You know, if you found an expert that wants to say my expert's better than your expert, then there's where we are. You're never going to resolve that in a meeting. You might come to an understanding. We try to follow traditional processes for expanding what we're trying to do. We spend a lot of time thinking about it, planning it, and learning, listening. And when you guys give your input, if it's totally out of sync with what we're about to do, then that's where we are. I think if I could talk more about how we managed for the last 30 years, I guess I'll say. We've saved you lots of money that you don't even know about because we made it affordable. And there's no reasons for everything we do. And these people are elected. They're not appointed. They're elected people. They represent you, and they do their best to represent what you want. But if you think you found an expert that wants to argue with us, then who's got the best expert? All you gotta do is listen to Congress and see who gets, how long they get to talk. They limit the conversation in front of our Congress in Washington DC. They limit them all the time. And that's usually by the guy that whoever's conducting the meeting decides how long we get to talk. So I think there's a lot we can talk about, but if you wanna redesign our system, it's a little late for that. You know, I guess we'll probably talk about it in the future, one way or another, but. I
I'll
think-
make a motion to approve.
Okay, we're for the resolution 25-9,
Yes.
public comment. Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign.
So this, like the other three, the policy adoption accompanies the resolution, so if we could go vote on that as well, that would be great.
Okay,
I'll make a motion.
we'll approve policy, okay? I'll second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Next item on the agenda, public relation firm service agreement. Is that Rodney or is that?
Yeah, that's me. That's me. So, there's already money in the budget, in this project through, Robert Pescian Associations for public outreach. That's how we get these boards, you know, when we did the open houses and stuff like that. But throughout this process, we feel we need to do some work and take a look at how we reach out to the public, how we communicate with the public in general, along with what we're doing with this project. And so we went out and looked at different PR firms. And we're recommended to this PR firm, and Mark and I and Rebecca met with this Brandon, who represents them, RBCI.
What's that stand for?
It's the names. It's Rosemary Brennan Curtin Intermountain Inc. So RBCI,
Oh, that's-
Rosemary Brennan Curtin Intermountain Inc. So,
They're based out of Boise, but he is based in Helena.
yeah. So our representative that we would deal with, that we met with, is in Helena. So they have an office there, but their general headquarters is out of Boise, Idaho. And so we had two different teams meetings with him to talk about some of the things we want to look at, our social media interaction, our website, just different ways, you know, if we wanted to we want to publish something out there about, you know, like, for instance, phase 2, wastewater treatment plant, something we have coming, something we want the public to know. They will work with us on how to get something like that out, or at least set us up with some guidelines.
So who pays the $8,500?
I just said, that's gonna come out of the budget, so that is in the budget already for this project.
So that says Lakeside Water and Sewer pays 100% of that $8,500?
Out of the construction, out of the budget.
Seems like whoever wants better communication should pay for half of that.
Well, how are you gonna do that?
I don't
You
know.
got a plan to do that?
Who wants this?
We want it for one. We want better communication with the public. So I want to be able to, right now, our Facebook page is linked to my personal account. Okay, so we have an Instagram page, it's not. We want those to be interactive. We want to find out figure out what is our best way to communicate with the public. For instance, like when we had the water leak over in Mission View, how do you get a message out to all those 100 residents in Mission View that there's a water leak, your water's out, here's the reason why, here's when it's gonna be back on, here's what we're doing to fix it, how can we communicate with people? Right now, it's just sporadic, it's all over the place, and so I would like to see some proactive way that we can look at and communicate with the people and say, how do you want to be communicated with?
Well, that's a task too, that's a big deal. How you come up with an answer to that.
So I'm gonna show you how, right, so stakeholder interviews, okay, so what they plan, with this $8,500, basically is he's gonna come up here and spend 3 days. He's gonna talk to the county commissioner, or a couple of them, or one of them. He's gonna talk to you board members individually, about this thing, about communication, or at least a couple of you, board president and somebody, maybe not you, Roxanne, we'll see. But get a consensus of how we're communicating now. What do we have? How do we manage our website? How do we manage our Facebook page, our Instagram page? Right now it's Rebecca and I, and we're pretty basic, really, for the most part.
This is asking for a lot to come up with something and then figure out.
At
I
what,
hope it doesn't end up like the internet says, let's chat. That's a big waste of time, half that stuff. Can't get a human being to talk to you anymore.
no, this isn't that. This isn't about chatting. It's about messaging. So it's also about how do we, for one, we need some messaging right now. Right now, we need to get some better messaging out. We have no avenue to do that. So right now, we're at the mercy of headlines in the newspaper, which generally don't favor us, okay, because of false information, half-truths, things like that come out in the papers. But how are we getting our message out? I came up with a mailer that we did mail out, which was pretty basic in itself.
Well, I think most of the people on this board want to communicate. I don't know anybody that ever served this board that didn't want to communicate.
Right.
No, but I think we heard also during the discussions, and we're open for those suggestions, because we typically communicate, and maybe that's all we need to do with our customers. We communicate through a board in the front. We maybe hang it up at the grocery store. This would give a slightly larger footprint to let the people know that have been asking us for the last 6 months, year and a half about information, and this would just put the information.
So somebody put some dollars together and said this is going to cost $8,500.
Correct.
So it's.
But that's based on,
We need it, so we should be part of that for sure. But I guess are the ratepayers happy with us spending another $8,500?
Well, we had that in our budget.
I was just
for our
saying though,
project.
that we already have that in the budget through RPA. I already confirmed it with RPA, that we have $14,000 to $20,000 in there that we can use towards this.
So
And
so use $8,500 where it was in the budget.
Correct.
right. In other words, it's not coming out of our
We're
operation.
concerned about costs, and here's another cost that just says you expect the ratepayers to pay the $8,500. Because they want it, I guess what you're saying.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but I'm also saying that I would like it. Because right now, the way that we're pushing out information, for one, once it's implemented, and we have an implementation process for how we're gonna push it out, once we kind of study it and we come up with these ways that we want to get it out, I feel it could potentially, for one, keep us out of lawsuits. It can keep people from storming our gates, because we're hopefully pushing out some information that they might need in the right way.
I think you can always say we can communicate better. You can say that about almost anything. Homeowners associations or government, whatever. But I think We're asking, I bet you they'll want more money than $8,500 for it, son.
This
This is a
isn't,
fixed budget.
this is simply, this right here is to come and assess, talk to us, figure it out, look at what we're doing today, spend time with us, what we're doing today.
Well, that's why we hire professionals, that's why we hire engineers, that's why we hire bond counsel, help us make these decisions.
But that's why the money's in there to do,
Yeah,
that's
all
what
right,
I'm
so
saying.
I guess if we have to pay the $8,500, that's part of our budget.
But also, Jim, I'm not, the public didn't make me bring this to the table. This is a frustration of mine as a general manager.
Okay, so you wanna
That-
have better steps.
Yeah, because what I end up doing right now, just to even push our engineers, right? You have to bring it up to the engineers. You have to bring it up to them. It has to be your idea. It has to be your, they're not sitting here pounding down the door. Hey, you know what? You should get this information out right here. You should do this. So it's about coming up with a better way that we can just quickly, Rebecca, when the water line broke in Mission View, we can, for one, get the information out that the public knows this is how we're going to communicate with you.
If this consultant can come up with answers to these things, I guess I'd be, we spend $8,500 on all kinds of stuff, so it's not a huge amount of money. But if it comes up with a solution, if they interview all these people, well, I'd be glad to be part of that.
Yeah,
But I mean, you asked the simplest question, how do you let 100 of your houses know they're out of water tonight?
Yeah.
And water on broke.
right. I mean, our guys are busy trying to fix it, they're trying to
Well,
get water shut
If
off.
we get something written down and the consultant helps us do it, I guess it's worth the money, but it seems like, and you're making the ratepayers pay for it, it's 100% of it.
Mhm.
It's part of the ongoing budget of the HAU.
Because everybody on this board represents the customers,
Right,
and they're serious about it,
right.
so. Okay, I guess, what do you want, a motion?
If you could,
No, we need public comment.
we're gonna have public comments first.
All right.
Okay, we'll open a public comment then.
Thank you. Mary Flowers, Citizens for Bear Flathead. Seems like a reasonable tool for the board to work towards. I am concerned that the stakeholder interviews really exclude the ratepayers and individuals, organizations like ourselves that I think should be included in the stakeholders as part of this process if you really want to get at messaging the public at large. So that's my main comment.
Thank you. Is there any more comments?
Yeah, well, just what I was thinking when you're talking about how to get out to customers, if there's like a water main break or something, Flathead Electric has, they'll send out like a mass text alert. So maybe, I don't know what system they use, if it could be scaled
Right.
down or what, but something like that where, and then they say, okay, it's back on or whatever,
I love it. I get 100 of them.
Mhm.
We have 100 different meters throughout the district. So.
No, we'd
Yeah.
love to have something.
But again, yeah, we have to kind of look at that. What does that cost them? How do they do that? How do they?
Right.
What is it? Yeah. But that's what we want. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, any more comments?
Just also piggybacking up, sorry, I also agree with her though that the stakeholder, I know your messaging, you wanna gear it towards a positive messaging, but.
No, not. It's
But-
not really. No, that was just part of it. Positive isn't that we got a water main leak or we got.
No, I guess I just mean
There's all
the
kinds-
stakeholder interviews, I agree that the ratepayers and maybe to have like a broader sense of the whole situation, I guess.
I appreciate the input. We'll definitely talk about it, so. Okay, what's the board wanna do?
Did Jim make a motion?
I'll move that we adopt this RBCI memorandum.
Okay,
I'll second.
got a motion and a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next item, general manager, staff.
I got it. I'm just gonna bring you up to date on a few things quick, and then show you a few pictures. I think I already told you the tank well number 2, just some things that have happened in the last month operationally. Tank well number 2 this week, they're setting the pump in that well. We're gonna finish that up over the next couple of weeks before winter, so that we can get the grading done, get the fence put back, and be finished with it. So good timing there. Something that maybe you didn't notice in the financials, but it just happened. Our insurance company, as you know, does not cover our legal fees because there's no financial damage. So, but there is a one-time insurance check for legal fees, which is $5,000, and we did just get that reimbursed to us, the $5,000. To date, our legal fees are about $50,000. So, we'll continue that, but I wanted you to know we did get $5,000 from the insurance company. Sunset Ridge, Mission View, the water leak, that was that 3-inch main that happened on the, and that's on the pressure zone side of the water system. And again, I think I was telling you, Jim, we're gonna go ahead and replace another 80 feet of that water main because the road's already tore up and because it's the last, it joins to what we just fixed, the 20 feet that we just fixed.
Okay, since I was there to see it, it's the 20 feet from where the hole was back to that valve.
Right.
That they replaced, and you're gonna go 80 feet
80
north?
feet to the north, yeah, and that'll finish out the thin wall pipe that's on Sunset, and that way we won't have to
So
dig that new asphalt
So
up.
that, when that subdivision was built,
Correct,
Joe
the
Slider
original
used the
pipe.
cheapest pipe he could find apparently.
Yep. And we knew that when we took that system over.
I know, we've had a couple of big breaks in that
Right.
since we took
In
it.
fact, I think the Mission View board had a choice to replace that line or put new asphalt down, and somebody told them to replace the line, but they put asphalt down instead, because it looks better, right?
Put it down to what?
The new asphalt over that thin walled pipe, and so since then, we've had to dig that new asphalt up 3 separate times. So we're gonna just, because we're not doing the asphalt until the spring, we wanna dig up that 80 feet, and that way it'll get time to settle over the winter, and then we'll finish the asphalt, and that should fix that once and for all there. But there's also another water valve. There was another leak at the end of Bernie Creek Road. It was in the highway right away. That was a valve failure. The valve had the date stamped on it, 1976. And so it was one of the original valves with the AC pipe connected to it. It was just, I hope there's not many more of those out there because it's like it was barely held together.
Down with the hydrant?
Yeah, so because it was in the highway right away though, Tanner did a great job of fixing it, but the highway, you have to put it back the way the highway wants it back. And so you gotta use flowable fill, all these other things that go with it. So it was a $20,000 valve replacement, which if it happened anywhere else, it probably would have been about an $8,000 valve replacement. The good news there is we only spent half our budget last year on water repair and maintenance, so. But we've been hit pretty hard with these last couple of weeks.
Well, nothing gets cheaper.
No. The lots here on Bernie Creek, when you drove up, maybe you noticed the power pole's gone. So they finally finished up, Flathead Electric, Tanner finished up putting in the conduit, the culvert, the approach, and then Flathead Electric came and pulled the overhead power.
For the vacant lot?
These lots right here. Yep, so there's just a little bit of cleanup left over, and then we're gonna leave it at that for now.
Need gravel?
No, it is what it is right now. unless you wanna spend more money on it. Yep,
Put gravel on it.
alright, well, I'll get a bid.
Okay.
But we, it's gotta be built up more though, a lot.
Okay.
It's a lot of money to put that gravel on there. So you wanna put a boat parking lot on there or what?
No, we gotta make it look finished.
Alright, okay, well, I'll get a bid. You guys wanna get a bid to do that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. But that was, we did the stuff you guys had already approved anyway, so it's done. But I'll get a bid to finish,
That's right.
to grade.
One thing I can add, one thing.
Alright. We're finishing up the treatment site irrigation this week. Then they're gonna winterize the pivot and the site over the next 2 weeks. So irrigation season is over. So the ponds are down to a great level. And then, just gonna show you some pictures of some progress out at the site. Bring you kinda up to speed on where things are there. This is the, septage site here. Just a little scan video. This concrete here is gonna be the biofilter.
Or
Or the biofilter and the blowers and so on for that biofilter. And then you can see it scans over here. And there's a lift station there, and then the building is gonna be, they're doing the walls, actually they're pouring those walls today,
Okay.
right here. So they had the forms up. And then, some more pictures of it here. So there's that biofilter, portion there. The building will be over here.
So that's the odor, basically odor
The
control.
odor control,
Filter.
right, yep. So all that odor control media will be down inside of that, and the air will come in and move through that, filter that out from the actual septage building. And then, this here is looking to the west, the east is this way. So this is where the potable water, is gonna be coming through. This is where the lift station's gonna pump the septage, so they gotta have a 10-foot separation.
What's the potable water doing there?
What?
That's just to hose the trucks off or what?
No, that's going to the headworks building.
Oh, that's not.
So we drilled a well there, and that's gonna go to the headworks building, so there's potable water there to the septic, or to the treatment plant side of things. Just another picture of it there. Here's where they're fusing the pipe. You can see the fusing machine there. So that's where they weld the pipes together. And then there's a tractor on the other end, and then they just keep pulling it to the next 20 feet stick. It's kind of time consuming, because that plate comes down in between, heats them both up, and then they pull the plate, and then they have to put a certain force against the pipes, and they have to let it sit there for,
I watched them do it.
yeah, it's pretty neat.
Why is that pipe black? Versus.
That, because that kind of pipe is black.
It typically has a blue line or a green line
Yeah.
on it. A thin one that shows the difference between the
Yeah.
different uses.
There's a green line down there.
Yeah, I think you
Better
can
control.
see the line on that one right through the weeds there.
So is that, I mean, they used to make that green, pipe green instead of just a line?
No, this is the HDPE, like all our HDPE pipe we have from,
Black?
All that heat welded pipe is black.
isn't it?
Yeah. Yep. Just the walls, so that's again what they're pouring today. You can see the footings that they're sitting on. So that's the septage. And then the headworks, a little bit there. You can see the footings and things, they're getting the plumbing put in, they got electrical conduits coming in from there.
Where is that in the big picture?
The headworks,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't have a big picture in here, but,
Is it the green?
no, I'll just bring up the map and show you that.
Right by you, behind you, Rebecca.
Yeah,
So it'd be
Yeah, basically next to the
next to the two ponds.
polishing.
right here, Jim.
Next to the polishing.
The
pond.
headworks is right here.
Right there, okay.
And it also gonna have a big biofilter that's
So
right
the
here.
line coming in the south goes through it?
This'll come into the headworks, yeah.
Okay.
But those lines are coming over from the septage, those two I showed you,
Yeah.
those will be coming across here.
Where is the, you got kind of the headworks now, where is that right now?
That's right here, but that's very, very, very basic.
That's not, there's nothing there anymore?
No, it's still there, but that's not an enclosed building, that's an open building, and all it's got in there is that,
That's where you get sacks full of solids, right?
yeah, the auger.
And that goes to the landfill?
Yep.
That's small potato stuff, right?
That's just rags, yeah.
So the other headworks, the end-
This is grit removal, all the rags, all that
Does
stuff.
that go in bags
Or dumpster.
or
Dumpster,
what?
yeah,
A
probably.
dumpster?
Yep, and the truck will come and empty it.
Or our truck?
No. A dump, like they do here, they come right out here right now.
Okay.
We put the bag in there and the truck comes and empties that.
So you bag it up and put it in there for them,
Right now we do.
I think I'm gonna drive the truck after I'm done with all
okay? Are
this.
you?
Yeah.
Think they'll hire you?
No. Probably not.
I wanna see your
I have a
CD.
CDL.
I know you do, I wanna call your past employers.
I forget when we got that parcel, how did we get that parcel, do you remember?
Which one?
Yeah.
Can you trade,
We
send in
traded
this?
that with the one down, lower one, or the one down, this one?
This one right here.
That one we
Yeah, that
traded-
one we traded for that one.
We traded the Owens for that,
Yeah.
because we moved the boundary over there, so.
Yeah. So that's all I got. I just wanted to kind of bring you up to speed on that a little bit. Where we're at.
Well, with that, we can adjourn.